Classroom Dynamics is supported by Logitech. As education continues to evolve, so does Logitech Education, your partner in content creation for the classroom. With Logitech's cutting-edge technology, students not only learn, but also become content creators. Whether it's in person or online, Logitech's tools are designed to inspire educators and learners alike. Logitech Education, inspiring the next generation of creators. For more, visit logitech.com/education. Transforming classrooms, one innovation at a time.
Looking to unlock creativity in your classroom? Meet the Logitech Crayon, the pixel-precise digital pencil built for students. With zero lag, seamless palm rejection, and all-day battery life, it's as easy as turn on and create. No pairing, no limits, just powerful learning across every subject. From sketching ideas to solving problems, the Logitech Crayon brings imagination to life instantly. Logitech Crayon, where ideas come to life. For more information, visit logitech.com/education today.
Welcome to Classroom Dynamics Bits and Bytes, the podcast within the podcast where we explore cutting-edge technologies for your classroom. Hi, everybody. I'm your host, Adam Todd. So here's a question for you. What if lesson planning, differentiation, and student engagement could all happen in one place, powered by AI, aligned to state standards, and ready for use in just seconds? Today, we're talking about something that could seriously change how teachers plan and deliver instruction. At Canva Create 2026, Canva rolled out something bigger than just a new feature. They introduced a full learning ecosystem called LearnGrid. Now, if you already use Canva for education, you know it's been great for presentations and creative projects. But LearnGrid takes things further. It's a built-in learning hub packed with thousands of ready-to-teach curriculum-aligned resources, all organized by grade, subject, and learning goals. No more bouncing between sites. No more endless searching. No more building everything from scratch late at night. It's all right there for you. And here's where it gets really interesting. This isn't just a content library. It's powered by AI. Teachers can generate customized materials on demand. We're talking worksheets, graphic organizers, and interactive games. Over 30 different formats, all tailored to your lesson goals in just seconds. Need to differentiate? Easy. Switch subjects or formats. Done. Want something engaging and standards aligned? Already built in. It also supports 16 plus languages, making it one of the more inclusive tools out there right now. But zooming out for a second, this isn't just Canva adding features. It's Canva stepping into the role of an instructional partner, combining design, AI, and teaching all into one streamlined experience. And if you're a teacher, you know what that could mean. Less time planning, more time actually teaching, and more ways to personalize learning for your students. So it's not really a question of if you should try LearnGrid, it's more about how quickly you can start using it in your workflow. Because tools like this don't just support teaching, they actually start to shift expectations. And as AI becomes more embedded into classrooms, LearnGrid feels like a clear signal that we're entering a new phase in education. Today, we're breaking down how you can start using it right away and what it could mean for the future of lesson design. Now, for more on Canva LearnGrid, here are our Google Notebook language model hosts, Bits and Bytes.
So right now, somewhere across the country, there is a sixth grade teacher sitting at their kitchen table.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, it's like Sunday afternoon. And they are spending their own money and, their own vanishing free time trying to figure out how to teach, say, photosynthesis. And they have to teach it to 30 kids who, honestly, all read at completely different levels.
Oh, it's exhausting just thinking about it.
It really is. I mean, it is a massive structural failure of our education system that we just kind of accept as normal. Like we ask our educators to be subject matter experts, data analysts, graphic designers, and administrative assistants all at once.
Yeah, and historically, the technology we've thrown at this problem hasn't actually, solved it.
No, not at all.
We give them tools that just digitize the workload. It doesn't actually alleviate the administrative burden. I mean, a blank digital canvas can sometimes be just as intimidating and just as time-consuming as a blank piece of paper.
Exactly. Well, welcome to our deep dive. Today, we are looking at a a potential fix for that exact Sunday afternoon scenario.
I am very excited for this one.
Me too. We are exploring a massive update that just dropped at Canva Create 2026, which is Canva AI 2.0. But our specific mission today is to zero in on a revolutionary new feature within this whole ecosystem called LearnGrid.
LearnGrid, yeah.
We're going to figure out exactly why teachers are going to want this and, look at the practical step-by-step ways it can actually be applied in the classroom without just adding to the noise.
Right. And to do that, we are drawing from two really illuminating sources today. First, we have a comprehensive breakdown from EdTech News.
Which is a great piece, by the way.
It really is. It dives into the technical mechanics and the industry-wide implications of Canva's new platform. And second, we have the actual keynote presentation from Lindsay.
Right, the former teacher.
Exactly. She's a former 6th grade English teacher who is now on Canva's education team. So she provides this really great boots-on-the-ground perspective of how this actually changes a teacher's day-to-day life.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because before we can step foot into the classroom and talk about LearnGrid, we really have to talk about the engine powering the whole thing.
Yeah, the foundation.
Right. Canva AI 2.0 represents a massive structural shift for them. Like, they're moving away from just being a graphic design tool into an entire workflow ecosystem.
Yeah, if you look at the historical use case of a design platform, you usually started with a static template.
Ugh, yes. Endlessly scrolling for the right one.
Right. You hunted for a layout that looked vaguely like what you wanted, and then you basically forced your content to fit into those predefined rigid boxes. But that Canva AI 2.0 introduces a completely different mechanism, which they call conversational design.
Conversational design. So you don't start with a template at all.
Exactly. You start with a goal, an idea, or a brief. You just talk to it.
Like, you literally type in what you want to achieve. So I could say, I need a presentation to explain cellular respiration to beginners.
Yes. And through that conversation, the system generates structured, editable designs right from the very outset.
Wow.
It analyzes your intent, it builds the layout, establishes the visual hierarchy, and even applies your organization's branding.
That's wild. But wait, is it just like a flat image?
No, that's the best part. Crucially, every single element remains independently editable, so you can tweak the layout of one specific slide or, adjust a single graphic without the entire asset break-in.
Or having to rebuild the whole thing from scratch?
Exactly.
So it's kind of less like hiring an intern to paint a room, where they just slap paint everywhere and you have to scrape off the trim if you don't like it. And it's more like having an air traffic controller.
That's a good way to look at it.
Like, it's not just generating a static image. It's looking at your flight plan, managing the incoming elements, and, routing the final design without you having to manually pilot every single step.
Right.
But I'm looking at this integration list in the sources, and my immediate thought is, okay, great. Just more disjointed AI outputs scattered across my Google Drive and my Slack.
Oh, I see where you're going.
Like, how is this not just adding to the noise we already deal with? Because, we all have way too many apps as it is.
Well, what's fascinating here is that the Canva team actually anticipated that exact friction.
Did they?
Yeah. They aren't trying to generate isolated outputs that you then have to manually copy and paste into other programs. The core engine of Canva AI 2.0 is built on what they call agentic workflows.
Agentic workflows. Okay, that sounds like a massive tech buzzword. What is the actual mechanism there?
Basically, it means the AI has the agency to manage multi-step processes across different platforms. So to solve that scattered app problem you just mentioned, Canva built in a persistent memory layer.
Persistent memory.
Yeah. The AI actually learns your stylistic preferences, your formatting rules, and your structural habits.
Oh, wow.
And it applies them universally across different projects over time. It maintains context.
Wait, really? It remembers how I like my materials formatted, so I don't have to reprompt it every single time I start a new project.
Exactly. And it connects directly to where your raw material actually lives.
Yeah.
So the update includes native integrations for Slack, Gmail, Google Drive, Google Calendar, Notion, and Zoom.
That is essentially the entire modern tech stack for most professionals right there.
Right. And by plugging into those APIs, the AI can pull in live web research, reference a specific thread in your Slack or your Gmail.
That is so helpful.
Yeah, or analyze structured data you have sitting in a Notion database or a Google Drive folder, and then synthesize all of that context to generate a cohesive output.
So it's not just a blank slate every time.
No, Canva is really positioning itself as a central workspace. It's moving from being a mere design layer to the actual command center where content is conceptualized, adapted, and finalized.
Man, that is incredibly powerful context-aware engine. Okay, so now let's bring that engine into the classroom.
Let's do it.
Let's connect this shift toward outcome-based AI directly to that stressed-out teacher at the kitchen table we talked about. How does an agentic workflow actually translate into saving time for an educator?
Well, we really have to look at Lindsay's keynote to understand the practical application of this.
Right, the former sixth grade teacher.
Exactly. Coming from that background, she fundamentally understands the reality on the ground. She framed the problem perfectly. Educators are constantly spending their own money and their precious spare time trying to assemble content that will actually resonate with their students.
It's a completely unsustainable model for a profession. I mean, it really is. And it's worth noting here because I think it's easy to forget when we talk about big tech platforms. Canva education has been completely free for K-12 teachers, students, and schools globally since 2020.
Yeah, that changes the math considerably.
It really does.
I mean, they aren't launching this highly advanced AI into a void, hoping schools will find some magical budget for it. They already have 50 million teachers and students using Canva every single month.
50 million. That's huge.
It is. They have a massive active feedback loop from an engaged user base that has been telling them exactly where the friction points are in their daily routines.
Which leads us directly to the solution they unveiled, right? LearnGrid. Lindsay described it as an all-in-one destination for learning content.
Yes, LearnGrid.
And the sheer scale of the repository they've built is staggering. Like they are launching with thousands of ready-to-teach resources, and they're fully available in 16 different languages.
Yeah, that language support is a massive leap forward for accessibility, especially for classrooms with, diverse populations or English language learners.
Absolutely.
But the truly critical mechanism here isn't just the volume of resources, it's the curriculum mapping.
Ah, okay. Let's define how that actually works because, the phrase curriculum mapped gets thrown around a lot in ed tech.
It really does. So when a teacher creates a lesson manually, they don't just pick a fun topic. They have to ensure that every single activity, every quiz, and every reading passage aligns with highly specific state or national educational standards.
Right, which sounds like a nightmare.
Oh, it is. Manually cross-referencing a fun activity with a dense bureaucratic document of educational standards is grueling work.
Yeah, bet.
But LearnGrid bypasses that entirely. Every single resource in that grid is pre-tagged and aligned to specific educational outcomes. So you aren't generating a random worksheet. You are accessing materials verified to hit the exact benchmarks you are required to teach.
Okay, I love the scale, I love the 16 languages, and the rigorous mapping is amazing. But I want to see how this plays out on a random Tuesday morning.
The Tuesday morning scenario.
Yeah, the coffee is wearing off, the bell is about to ring in 20 minutes, and a teacher needs to get a lesson ready right now.
Yeah.
What does this workflow actually look like in practice?
Well, Lindsay's keynote actually gave a really granular step-by-step walkthrough of that exact Tuesday morning panic.
Oh, perfect.
The interface operates literally like a grid. A teacher logs in and uses a series of filters to narrow down the universe of content. They select their specific grade level, their subject area, and the specific learning objective for that week.
Okay, so let's say sixth grade science, focusing on the water cycle. They punch that in.
Right. And instantly, the system surfaces a core presentation that is already mapped to that specific water cycle curriculum standard. The foundation is laid.
Boom, done.
But, a static presentation isn't enough to keep a room of 12-year-olds engaged. They need interactive, tactile engagement with the material.
Yeah, they need to actually do something with the information, not just listen to someone talk at them.
Exactly. And this is where the agentic AI workflow kicks in.
Okay.
The teacher decides they want a hands-on activity. So using the AI, they prompt the system to generate an interactive sorting activity based directly on the foundational presentation they just found. The content is automatically extracted and formatted. But the teacher retains total control over the personalization. So they can modify the vocabulary to reference local landmarks in their town or, incorporate inside jokes from the classroom, making the material highly relevant to their specific group of kids.
Okay, I need to clarify something crucial right now because this actually confused me at first when I was going through the sources.
Oh, the naming thing?
Yeah, we were talking about Canva, right, without an S, the design platform. But Lindsay's example shows student answers feeding directly into Canvas with an S.
Yeah, the naming similarity is incredibly confusing, but the distinction is really vital.
Okay, lay it out for me.
Canvas with an S is a learning management system. It's the administrative software that schools use to track grades, manage enrollments, host student portals, things like that.
Right.
It is completely separate from Canva, the design and workflow tool we are discussing.
Got it. Okay, so when the teacher finalizes this interactive sorting activity in Canva, they hit publish, and the students pull it up on their tablets or their Chromebooks.
Exactly.
They complete the activity.
Yeah.
And the magic here is the integration, right? Like, as the kids are sorting the elements of the water cycle, their progress and their final scores feed directly via an API straight into the Canvas LMS gradebook.
Yes. The data flows automatically.
That's incredible.
The teacher can monitor the entire class's comprehension in real time without having to open a secondary app or, export a CSV file or spend their lunch break manually grading a stack of 30 papers.
The dream.
The administrative burden of tracking progress is entirely offloaded.
And it doesn't stop at the classroom door, does it? Because Lindsay showed that with just one more click, the teacher can ask the AI to generate a quick homework task or a customized review worksheet for every single student.
Yeah, and it's based specifically on the lesson they just completed and the areas where they struggled in that sorting activity.
Wow. It just creates this seamless, closed-loop pedagogical process. The preparation, the delivery, the engagement, the assessment, and the follow-up all handled within a single continuous workflow.
It really is something.
It is deeply impressive. But I do have to push back on the reality of the classroom here.
Sure enough.
This workflow sounds perfect for a uniform group of students who all process information at the exact same speed. But any educator will tell you that never happens.
Never.
So what if I teach that water cycle lesson, and I look at my dashboard, and half my class is completely lost on the foundational vocabulary, while the other half mastered it 10 minutes ago and are now, throwing erasers at each other out of sheer boredom.
Yeah, the classic classroom dynamic.
Right. A beautifully designed automated workflow doesn't fix the fundamental problem of a mixed ability classroom.
You've identified the single most exhausting challenge in modern education, honestly. What you were talking about is the absolute necessity of differentiated instruction.
Differentiated instruction.
Yeah. It's the practice of tailoring the learning experience to multiple different cognitive readiness levels simultaneously within the same physical room.
Right.
It is pedagogically essential, but executing it manually is just punishing.
Because to do it properly, a teacher is essentially planning 3 or 4 completely different lessons for a single 45-minute class period. You need the standard lesson, the remedial support lesson, and the advanced enrichment lesson.
Exactly. And this brings us to the core of why Canva AI 2.0 is a paradigm shift.
Looking for a smarter way to protect and use your tech on the go? The Higher Ground Gear DataKeeper Plus CS is built for action. Work directly from the case without ever removing your device. Stay organized with a built-in storage pocket for accessories, and rest easy knowing you've got serious drop protection designed for real-world classrooms and busy professionals. The DataKeeper Plus CS. Organize smarter, protect better, and work wherever you are. For more information, visit hggear.com today. Looking to spark excitement in your classroom and save time? Head over to Highly Motivated on Teachers Pay Teachers. From engaging lesson plans to creative lab books and test prep tools, these resources are designed to inspire learning and take the planning stress off your plate. Highly Motivated, motivating teaching resources that engage and inspire. For more, search Highly Motivated on Teachers Pay Teachers.
Addressing that mixed ability classroom is actually LearnGrid's most powerful feature.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah. The platform's underlying AI allows a teacher to generate multiple versions of the exact same lesson at different cognitive levels simultaneously.
How does it actually do that mechanically? We aren't just talking about making the font bigger for the remedial version, right?
Oh, far from it. Because the system has that persistent memory layer we talked about and understands the core curriculum standard, it intelligently modifies the actual content.
Seriously?
Yes. If you ask for a foundational support version, the AI will rewrite the reading passages to use less syntactically complex sentences. It will substitute advanced vocabulary for more accessible synonyms. It might even add more visual cues or graphic organizers to help process the information.
While keeping the core educational objective exactly the same.
Precisely. And conversely, for the advanced version, the AI will layer in more analytical prompts. It might ask the student to synthesize the information with a historical event or evaluate conflicting data points.
So it scales the actual cognitive load.
Yes, it scales the complexity of the cognitive load. It supports deep, rigorous, differentiated instruction without requiring the teacher to endure multiple exhausting planning cycles.
I mean, we are witnessing a total transformation of the educator's role here. If you think about the traditional model, a teacher spends a massive percentage of their time basically acting as a manufacturer.
Yeah, that's a great word for it.
They are manufacturing worksheets, manufacturing slide decks, manufacturing quizzes. But with an agentic workflow handling the generation and the differentiation, that burden vanishes. They are shifting from being manufacturers of static materials to being orchestrators of dynamic learning experiences.
That is the crucial insight. And it fundamentally alters the skill set required from the user, too. The Itai piece makes a point to emphasize that we are moving way beyond basic prompt writing.
Right. No more just asking for a simple image.
Exactly. In 2023, the skill was typing, make me a picture of a cat in a spaceship. But because this is an outcome-based system, the necessary skills for educators shift toward high-level cognitive tasks.
So they are focusing on the strategy, not the manual labor.
They are spending their time defining the overarching pedagogical goal, evaluating the nuances of the AI's output, and, iterating on the design to better fit their students' emotional and social needs.
That's me.
They are shaping workflows rather than assembling documents. It elevates the profession back to the art of teaching rather than the administration of paperwork.
And learning, of course, doesn't just happen at a desk between the hours of 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. It doesn't magically stop when the school bell rings.
Definitely not.
What I found so compelling in the later half of Lindsay's keynote is that this entire ecosystem isn't walled off just for traditional schools.
Right. Lindsay was very deliberate about this point. The reality of education is that it requires a broader community. She noted that parents can access the exact same curriculum-mapped material to support their children's learning at home.
Which is huge for parents who feel out of the loop.
Absolutely. If a child is struggling with fractions at the kitchen table, a parent doesn't have to guess how the teacher introduced the concept that morning. They can just access the mapped resources on LearnGrid and provide consistent, aligned support.
And she emphasized that they are making LearnGrid available to everyone, not just verified K-12 educators, but community leaders, corporate trainers, global nonprofit organizations.
Yeah.
Like anyone who has a mandate to teach or share knowledge now have access to this infrastructure.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the strategic business implications here are massive.
Oh, I bet.
As the Itai article points out, Canva is executing a really brilliant maneuver. They are positioning themselves right at the intersection of AI generation and final educational delivery.
They are quietly taking over the entire pipeline.
Pretty much. Think about the software boundaries we've historically accepted. We have productivity and communication tools like Gmail or Slack. We have creative platforms like traditional Canva or Adobe software. And we have heavy administrative learning management systems like Canvas or Blackboard.
Right, completely separate silos.
Exactly. But with AI 2.0 and LearnGrid, Canva is blurring those rigid boundaries entirely. They are creating a unified environment where strategic planning, visual design, differentiated instruction, and student engagement all sit within a single, continuous agentic loop.
Which makes this incredibly relevant to you, the listener, regardless of your profession. Whether you are an actual classroom teacher trying to survive lesson planning, a corporate manager designing an onboarding session for a new hire, or honestly, someone just trying to master a complex new skill for your own career growth, you now have access to these same adaptive professional-grade tools.
Yeah.
The traditional barrier to entry for creating high-quality, customized instructional material is effectively gone.
It democratizes the entire instructional design process. Lindsay made a really poignant observation in her keynote. We cannot fully picture the jobs our current students will eventually hold or the global problems they will be tasked with solving.
Things change too fast.
The technological landscape is shifting too rapidly, but tools like LearnGrid ensure that the preparation for that unknown future is adaptable, it's rigorous, and it's accessible to everyone, not just schools with massive funding.
It's an incredibly empowering shift in how we think about knowledge transfer. Well, we've covered a massive amount of ground in this deep dive.
We really have.
We started by looking under the hood of Canva AI 2.0 exploring how conversational design and persistent memory are replacing static templates with smart, agentic workflows that integrate seamlessly into the tools you already use.
And then we took that engine into the classroom to see how LearnGrid utilizes that power to tackle the educator's dilemma. We walked through the practical reality of a teacher finding a curriculum-mapped presentation, generating an interactive sorting activity, tracking the data directly in their LMS, and then creating customized follow-up tasks in minutes.
We dug into the mechanics of differentiated learning, how the AI scales cognitive complexity, altering vocabulary and sentence structure so that every student gets what they need without burning out the teacher. And finally, we looked at how Canva is blurring the lines between productivity, design, and education software on a global scale.
It's a huge step forward.
So what does this all mean? If an AI system can now conceptualize, generate, differentiate, and track an entire curriculum based on a single conversational goal, the mechanics of education are fundamentally solved.
Right.
But that leaves us with a profound question about the future. If teaching looks less like delivering content and more like directing an orchestra of AI learning agents, what happens to the human connection in learning?
That's the real question.
When the administrative and generative burdens are fully automated, where does the true soul of teaching reside? That is something for you to mull over as you watch these tools reshape how we learn and how we work. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.
For more on Classroom Dynamics, follow us on X at Class Dynamics or on Instagram at Classroom Dynamics Podcast. And be sure to search Classroom Dynamics on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast shows.